on the News Channel 5 network. This is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris coming to you today on this Wednesday with a show that I think is very important. We could do this show every single month of the year, all right? I mean, it's something always worth talking about, but especially the month of September. It's a Suicide Prevention Month, and the idea is to, especially during this month, raise awareness, get information out there, and let people know there is help available. And there's a great network of help here in the state of Tennessee. We're going to talk about that, an event coming up, and take your phone calls. You see the numbers up on the screen, 737-7587, if you want to join in the conversation, questions, comments, seeking resources, things like that, or trying to understand, you know, the concept of suicide, why it happens, and what kind of help is out there. Give us a call. We'll get into it because we've got a great panel of guests this morning, all from the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network. With us is Joanne Purley. Good morning, Joanne. Good morning. It's nice to see you again. Well, yes, Scott Ridgway. Good morning to you. And Dr. Monty Hall. Hi. Thank you all three for coming on. And, you know, I think first and foremost, people, when they think about resources available out there, there's a Suicide Prevention Network hotline. Is there not? Yes, sir. Okay. And it's called the Prevention Lifeline. Now, when they say it's national, it's an 800 number. If someone makes that call, it goes to operators where? All over the country. Anywhere. Anywhere. So if I dialed it up here in Nashville, it's possible I would get someone in Tennessee, but you have experts manning this line, or women on this line all across the country. You can get anyone because they're dealing with the same type of issues. Correct, correct. And in Tennessee, we have 7 centers that are answering that line. Okay. Across the country, there are over 200 call centers that are answering. It is funded through the federal government. We are very proud that in the legislature in Washington, Congress just passed, and our president just signed legislation that's now turned over that legislation to the FCC to look at the feasibility of having a 3-digit number to basically look at having a 3-digit number so that, folks, instead of remembering 1-800-273-TALK 8255, that they could just call 3 numbers and be able to reach those in crisis that may be suicidal, that number. So I think that's a great idea. I would imagine sometimes those in crisis do call 911. And that it would be nice if there was a separate line for that type of thing, but certainly if someone's in that type of crisis, that is an emergency, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, but I think that's great. So is that coming, do you think? I mean, we hope we're going to see. Any idea on what those 3 numbers might be? No, I mean, I think that's the reason why it's being referred over to the federal the FCC. I think it's a good idea, because off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to give you this number right here. And we'll have that up throughout the show for you. I'm just curious, too. It's interesting how you have a nationwide network of operators that will take these calls. But are there distinctions when it comes to suicide? They're defined by the geography of where you happen to live. Is there any difference between those, who deal with suicide in the South as opposed to the Pacific Northwest? I'm sure there's general things, and it varies for individual, but are there certain things that can be geographically linked? Well, have you ever heard that? Definitely means. So in the South, and especially in much more rural areas, in Tennessee, of course, we have a lot of rural areas in our state, and firearms are definitely used much more frequently. So it's that means, and it's that access to means. So that's why we're always very cognizant and aware of safe storage and what that can look like and what that needs to look like for folks who might be at risk for suicide. Yeah, or in areas where there's higher rate of substance abuse. Yeah. For sure. Drinking, those types of things can all come into play. But all right, how bad a problem is it now in Tennessee? What's the rate like? How does Tennessee stack up? Are there statistics on that in terms of the number of suicides in the state of Tennessee each year? Yeah, so here in Tennessee, we have the 2016 numbers, so those are our most up-to-date. So it's probably more now, right? Yes, or does it go up? Maybe it was going down. Well, so from 2014, 2015 to 2016, there has been a steady increase, unfortunately, in the numbers and the rates here in Tennessee. But for 2016, it was 1,110 Tennesseans. We lose 3 Tennesseans each day to suicide. That's... The trend is going up, is that?
It is, yes, sir. So we hope to have the 2017 numbers before Christmas. It's usually around our fall season when we get those numbers. So it just takes a while to make sure that they're accurate.
All right. And
I think what's important to understand, Nick, is that this administration's done a lot of education with our medical examiners across the state. So we could see that those numbers have increased, maybe because better reporting. We have a medical examiner system in our state. They've also instituted a real-time data system, a web-based, and so education is very important because the stigma that's associated with reporting plays a big role. So sometimes we may not have enough evidence about proper reporting. So I think that plays a major role. Currently, there's been also funding for the National Violence Reporting System. So Tennessee was one of those states that did not have the National Violence Reporting System, and so now CDC is funding all states.
How is it reported, though? I'm just wondering. Oftentimes, someone who dies by suicide, their family, you know, it's none of our business anyway, but they're not. A lot of them don't want to know. They don't want to put it out there. They just don't. In the media, we're not going to report it if you die by suicide. Okay, and unless it'd be very rare circumstance that we would. So how is that reported then?
Well, it's reported by the investigation, so there may be a team, whether it's the medical examiner, law enforcement, exactly. And so, again, there may not be enough evidence. So if it's a one-car accident and the intent for that individual was, say for instance, they did intend to die by suicide, and there might have been a note, but nobody could have located the note.
May not be able to tell.
May not be able to tell. And life insurance policy may not be able to pay, and so but being able to try to look at those indicators is very important, and being able to educate folks about proper reporting and so forth, taking away that stigma, because looking at trying to look at those indicators, whatever type of death it is, we can be able to understand how reporting, whether it's reported accidental, will help us understand what we need to do to look at preventive measures for any type of death, so that we can try to educate anyone about those.
Well, what is all this stuff, Dr. Hall? There is just a bunch of, I guess as he likes to say, resources available, right? I mean, these are, what you brought with you is just, I'm sure these are types of flyers people can get access to, just information out there?
That is correct, Nick. So the Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network, over the past 20 years, has done a impeccable job in collecting tools and resources that our public citizenry can utilize. So within the statewide network, we have 8 regional divisions of representatives. I represent the Middle Tennessee, Mid-Cumberland, South Central region of 26 counties, and our role is to, one, be proactive in bringing trainings and presentations to folks who need it or who wish to have it. But the interesting thing, I feel, the momentum that is gearing now, because we've had a record number of suicides increasing in 49 out of 50 states in the country as of this summer.
What's the one state that's not?
Nevada.
Really? Interesting. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's
okay. Go ahead.
We feel our role as educators and to offer advocacy goes up and down the line. So we are available for all levels of grassroots education and campaigns for us to work through the stigma of mental illness to begin with, and then all the way into dark journeys of folks taking their own lives. And it's very evident through all research and trends, not just in Tennessee or across the state, even across the globe, of a steady rise in young children taking their lives for, you know, at one level for me, issues of bullying are preventable, but that contributes to young folks, young children taking their lives, and all through middle age, all through senior citizenship. Somehow we have become a society with such advanced technological ways for us to communicate, but we are also getting more and more polarized and separated and divided, which increases the loneliness in our lives.
Yeah, well, everyone's on computers and Facebook, and no one's talking like we are. Listen, we need to take a break on that note. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation, pick up where we left off. We have some phone calls coming in as well. The number is 737-7587. We're talking suicide prevention. September's Suicide Prevention Month. We'll take your calls, tell you about an event coming up as well that we want to make sure to publicize, and continue our conversation right after this.